or people that want to consider being part of founding teams. It's a really tough journey. I know it sounds sexy and there's all these elements of like the payouts, the money, the glory, all these things, but it is very hard. I'm not at all saying don't do it. I'm just saying
we have Legos.
Nice.
So do you want the F1 car or the Ferrari?
I think I'm going to have to go with Ferrari.
Introducing Alex Song,
founder and CEO of Proxima.
Really ask yourself why you? Because there's a lot of great ideas. There's a lot of successful backgrounds, but why you specifically to execute and lead this opportunity? I used to think that you could work really hard and then play really hard and somehow that balanced it out. Work hard, play hard, work hard, play hard. And at some point you get to your 30s and you're like, this does not work, right? I'm just burning the candle at both ends. I think I had a pretty chaotic childhood. My father was traveling. He was trying to build his own business. He wasn't around probably like 2-3 months at a time, would be with us. It was pretty sporadic because I got used to over this decade of like very pivotal years of my life. I got pretty okay feeling slightly unsafe or even in a more chaotic environment.
I think we can be more in tune and be more vulnerable.
I think it's hard because I generally expect most people to view me as this person that like knows what the fuck is going on because they're all like, hey,
and if
you got this.
Welcome to the podcast, and would love to tell you a bit of a story about me and my burnout of one of my first companies.
Please.
But while we do that, we have Legos.
Nice.
So do you want the F1 car or the Ferrari?
I think I'm going to have to go with Ferrari.
There we go. And so we basically just will like build this.
Nice. I've already discovered I'm terrible at this because now I try to do this with my son and it's like... Wow, I can like run a Series A back company, but I struggle to put basic Legos together.
Well, that's why that's why this is funny.
And by the way, it says 318 pieces. Like I don't know, is this podcast is 6 hours? We have a shot.
So we'll see how far we can get.
All right, that's fine.
And then you have a lovely Ferrari to take home to your son.
There we go. That's exciting. Oh wow. Okay, here we go. This is good. This is good. So tell me about your story.
Okay. Let me open all the packages so everybody can hear. All right. There we go. Basically, I think so many founders, when they build companies, they look at spreadsheets. They look at like, oh, do you have a wedge? Do you have a flywheel? Do you have a moat? Sort of like what you were doing after you came out of finance. And I did the same thing where I was I found out of COVID, I saw a huge insurance gap for small businesses. And I thought, man, if I could create what Zurich created with farmers and create a co-op in insurance, I could serve a lot of small businesses. And so I went and raised venture for that. And essentially like what I figured out at one point in the business, and it ended up being like for like coffee shops and fast food restaurants and Main Street businesses. And what ultimately happened is I was like cold calling 70 of these businesses a day for 6 months to try to hit like venture milestones. And I hit a certain point where it's like I literally like couldn't get off the couch because I was like so burned out. And for me, it was like I couldn't figure out why. I felt like I was like failing my investors, failing my team. Like everyone had worked so hard to get to that point. And I didn't understand it. And years later, what came down to from that was my wife, who is a repeat founder, she basically was like, do you want to be the CEO of an insurance company? And I was like, hell no. And then I was like, oh shit, what am I doing here? And so what I figured out from that is like, you have to like really do what you love to be able to win. But I would love for you to like tell me a bit about like you've obviously had like a prolific career. You've worked at Goldman, you've worked with Bill Ackman, you've built numerous businesses, you built a holdco. Like what can you tell me a story of burnout and tell me like if you've ever experienced it and how you overcame it, and how do you think about like wellness as a founder?
I'll start by saying, for me, what I recognize is that my aptitude for being able to embrace hard work comes from my childhood. I think I had a pretty chaotic childhood. My father was traveling. He was trying to build his own business. He wasn't around probably like 2-3 months at a time, would be with us 2-3 months. So it was pretty sporadic, right? And not having your father figure there on a consistent basis definitely makes it a bit more challenging. That was between that and his own hardships. Like he was an entrepreneur himself. Seeing all of that together, it made it quite challenging for me to have like consistency and I understand by talking to my therapist, consistent safety, right? That feeling of being safe. But interesting enough, because I got used to over this decade of like very pivotal years of my life through, let's call it like age of 8 to 18, I got pretty okay feeling slightly unsafe or even in a more chaotic environment.
Yeah.
And that ended up making it more, I think it made me much more resilient, right? And now I think about burnout, right? We today, talking about burnout is acceptable. I would say, I'm a bit older than you, I think.
Yeah.
I'm like early 40s, right? Yeah. And, I grew up and saw a time in investment banking where it was like, it doesn't fucking matter what your feelings are. You're either going to be successful and be top bucket, get paid, all that stuff, or you're not. And I didn't really think there was this other path, right? It was like, oh, wait, I'm going to raise my hand and say like, actually, I'm not good with this.
Yeah.
I just, that concept didn't even exist for me. So what I started to understand was like, oh, like I'm really good at grinding and being in these really tough environments because I had this somewhat chaotic and somewhat unsafe feeling childhood. And I'm like, all right, well, I could roll with this in ways that I think other people are not willing to endure. And I think I've experienced this in some ways throughout my life. Even on like, I'm strangely okay to like do pretty ambitious things. Like a few years ago, my friends jokingly, they signed up for, they invited me out to cheer them on for the Sag Harbor Triathlon.
Yep.
And, we went there. I thought it was like preparing, food and drinks at the finish line kind of thing. And then they're like, oh, we signed you up. And I'm like, what?
Some friends, man.
I mean, we all like, were kind of like, we went to the same gym. It was like the owner of the gym, as well as like his trainers, this celebrity gym called Gotham.
I think if I did that, I would literally die.
So it's interesting. Like I was in pretty good shape, but I was, like triathlon's tough and there's swimming involved. Like I've never been on a bike where you like get locked in and like step-ins. It was a mess. But for me, what's interesting is like I had just done Kilimanjaro maybe just like a couple months before, and that was a painful last day. Everything's chill. I did like 7 days on the mountain. First 6 days, super chill. Last day, like, wow.
Was it the altitude sickness?
Altitude. Like,
yeah. I was supposed to do Kilimanjaro, and then I canceled it to go help join my first startup that I joined. So that was always on my bucket list.
Well, you're a good man to focus on work, but you should still do it. But I think what's interesting from that experience for me is like I went from Kilimanjaro, which I literally this last day I was like, oh my God, this might be the hardest physical thing I've ever done, and it was because I was sick. It wasn't because the actual hike is that hard. It's just the altitude. My body was just not adapting, and then I'm like, what's the worst that happens? Like I get off my bike and then I like call an Uber and then I go home, right?
Yeah.
Or I sit at a Starbucks and
that's
then,
like an interesting framing.
Wait for a friend to pick me up versus I'm like stuck on a mountain freezing my ass off in the dark because for some reason they want you to start at midnight for that trek. Anyway, I was just like, it's all relative. And I think when I think back about that experience, I did finish the triathlon, by the way, 30 minutes slower than all my friends, but I still finished. What I learned was, you kind of collect these gritty experiences and you build your like tolerance for resilience, right? And the grind. And I think for me, I'm not saying I've never come close to burnout, because there's moments where like physically and mentally I was like absolutely exhausted. And I do have a lot of compassion that's a thing, right? I've seen it happen to people that I care about, that I respect. So I understand it's real. But I do think where I am today, what I recognize is looking back, I've just had, from my childhood to the experiences I had at Goldman Sachs, to getting my butt kicked by Bill and then moving into, entrepreneurship. Like, I've built a pretty high tolerance level for getting my butt kicked and being willing to say, all right, I'm getting back up and I might get my butt kicked again, but like, it's okay. It's part of the process because I can endure, and it's something that ultimately I believe is a part of the journey. Right.
How much of it is pain tolerance versus risk tolerance?
I think it's both. I think they're correlated. Some people feel physical pain when they feel that they're at risk because they're scared.
Yeah.
Right. So they're correlated. Like, go back to my childhood. I'm like, listen, I'm sure I know I have deep rooted scarring from not having my parents around as much as maybe I wanted. But I am thankful in that I'm able to realize, okay, I got a lot of good things out of it as well. And one of those good things is, and it's funny, I've gravitated towards being a CEO of a now AI data intelligence company called Proxima.
Yep.
We are powering a bunch of the current ad tech ecosystem. We are helping a lot of brands be more successful on platforms like Meta, TikTok, Google. And we raised a Series A last year, $12 million Series A.
Congrats.
Thank you. Backed by great partners, but the two main investors, the largest investors, one is Mucker Capital. A man named Omar Hamui sits on my board. He was the founder and CEO of AdMob, which he sold to Google for almost $1 billion in 2013. He was then a partner at Sequoia for 7 years. He's amazing. He's like OG in the ad tech industry, and he's now kind of guiding us in a very meaningful way. And then LVMH, the luxury brand holding company, is our other largest investor. So very fortunate. It was a great cap table.
Epic cap table.
Really just very blessed around it. I think where I focus kind of my thoughts and my energy, like when I think about like burnout and kind of protecting myself from risking the business and having to take venture money, like there's a lot more at stake. I've invested a lot more in kind of mental and emotional wellness. Whether that's like, literally, I just came from seeing my therapist, right? Like that was the meeting I had right before here. He happens to be in Midtown. I'm like, great, we can do it in person.
I wish so many more CEOs would like open up about like, I had like a crazy childhood too. I think a lot of us like probably that are entrepreneurs had similar things. And, therapy has helped me so much as a CEO.
Yeah.
And it's part of my like self-care regimen. So I do that. I do fitness. And without those two things, like I tried to build multiple companies without that stuff for many, many years. And it just didn't work as well. And now when I really take care of myself, all that stuff kind of like snaps together.
I could totally agree with that. Like that makes a ton of sense to me. I think a lot of people are more open about the work that they do than ever before. Like meaningfully more. And I think it's a beautiful thing, right? I think that.
You think that's opportunity cost because like you can create so much bigger businesses now, and like you need like there's more things to like as an entrepreneur. I think there's so many different AI businesses you can create. Like, is it that, or is it like just more authenticity, or what?
I think it's cultural, right? I think like when I'm growing up, with my dad, Chinese immigrant who like. Literally, if I hug him and I say I love you, he gets awkward, right? Like that's kind of he's like, kind of not, just not good with the emotional side.
I had a grandfather that was like very similar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I literally was like, I would feel truly, I think he probably said this, but like, I thought like men don't cry kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
And, you go now
I got the men don't hug.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love when I go visit my dad and I like try to hug him, like just to make him feel awkward. He gets what I'm doing, so he kind of laughs. And
That's a good
embraces
move.
it.
I should have tried that.
It's not too late, right?
Oh
Hopefully.
no, he passed.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
For me, look, where I go in terms of where I think about like therapy and things that you can do for, helping yourself avoid burnout. I think, look, it's all connected, right? I used to think that you could work really hard and then play really hard and somehow that balanced it out. Like I'm guilty of like, I'm in New York City. I'm now early 20s. I'm making like a couple $100,000 a year and I'm like single, no family, no responsibilities. I think I'm getting this massive bonus check at the end of the year. I'm like, great. Let's go like spend money and like party and take trips and do all this crazy shit. And it is a form of release, but it actually exhausts your body and you get away with it in your 20s and you're like, okay, great. Like, work hard, play hard, play hard. And at some point you get to your 30s and you're like, oh, this does not work, right? I'm just burning the candle at both ends. And
I feel like it's like lack of sleep is like the biggest culprit.
Sure.
Right? Because like ultimately, like that's like I feel like when you're like 22 or 24, like you could go like 4 hours of sleep and it was like nothing. Now, for me, I optimize everything. I'm like, I started by like working, like weightlifting a lot. Then I started by like eating right. Then I was like, okay, let me get 7-8 hours of sleep. And then ultimately, like I just completely stopped drinking because I would literally have one glass of wine or like one cocktail and it would like spike all my stuff. Yeah. And I'm just like, I don't want to take that trade-off anymore.
I have a lot of friends that have come to that same conclusion.
Yeah. I don't have like judgment around it. And like when I was like just in Greece with my family and I had like a sip of wine and like I'm not like preachy about it, but it's like an optimization for me that like I would have never thought I would have wanted to do that. You know?
Look, no, I feel the same way. And it's like sleep is so critical for your health, for your longevity. It is a massive part. If you want to be successful at anything in life, you need to have as much sleep as possible. But I also think like you're highlighting the physical in that, you're talking about working out, the refraining from drinking, as maximizing sleep. I think what I realized, and it took a while for me to realize, was how connected your emotions are and your mind is, as well as this other part, which I've come to grips with talking about. I think some people still have their own kind of discomfort or lack of willingness to talk about, which is spirituality.
Yeah.
And I don't really talk about spirituality in like the religious sense. I'm not preachy. Like I was raised in, going to a Christian environment. I went to like a church growing up. Most Sundays, right? I was baptized at some point. But as I got older, I kind of pulled back from a lot of the religious practices. And I kind of just, as part of that, I just went very, disconnected from any sort of like this higher self. And today, what I realize, it's not so much about like, oh, do I believe in a God, or is there like, this universal central power that's governing everything we do? No, it's more that we have the physical and then we have metaphysical. And if we don't recognize the metaphysical and like things that connect you to your higher self, both in your emotion and your feelings of when your best version of yourself and how you feel like your role plays into the larger world that we are in, it's hard to have, a true perspective on like what it is you want, what it is you're committed to, what it is you stand for, what it is you believe in. And that's a personal thing that was a big unlock for me. As I started to be able to tie it all together, it started to make me feel more fulfilled, more connected. And as a result, because I'm an entrepreneur and I'm very results driven, I started to see that I was performing better.
Yeah, same. I had like the exact same realization. Like it's almost like presence.
Okay.
Like you're calling it like spirituality. For me, it's like I feel like everything's set up to make you not present these days.
Okay.
And for me, it's like taking a time to meditate, or I've just that quiet space and just observing nature. Those type of moments make me like so much of a better entrepreneur.
I love that. I think that is a huge part of like good decision making, right?
Yeah.
Being present and operating at your best version or your best level, if you will. The spiritual side of building yourself up can be very hard. Even let's just use the emotional side, right? Like connecting to your emotions as a founder, as someone that, whatever you went through, especially as a young man that's kind of told, hey, you don't do certain things like cry, or you don't feel sad, or you shouldn't express certain, like somehow anger is okay because it's manly, right?
Yeah.
But then like being sad or scared or anxious is like, very feminine and girly. And you like
think of how much like not having those emotions has like destroyed investor capital and like boardroom CEOs all over the place as founders. Like I think if we can be more in tune and be more vulnerable, that actually creates a lot of EV. Like for me, I like with my company, I take moments where I'm like, hey guys, like I'm having a rough day. Like, my like XYZ happened, or I try to be like more open than I was like probably in my 20s or 30s with people. And then that lets them know where I came from. Yeah. Like, how do you think about like implementing that like vulnerability in your life as a founder and a leader?
I think it's really important to have that ability. And I think it's hard because I generally expect most people to view me as this person that like knows what the fuck is going on, because they're all like, hey,
and if
you got this.
And
right?
also like if you don't as a founder, like you're bored and like people and everybody starts like freaking the fuck out, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So no, it's not easy, but it's a balance, right? Like if you're constantly like, oh my God, I'm so sad today. Like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this. Like at some point your team is like, yo, like get your shit together.
Yeah.
But
I mean, there's some people that like, I don't think are like cut out for the founding thing.
Yeah.
Right?
No, I think that's totally right. Man, I messed up. And now I need to like,
you need like a pry bar.
Yeah. I need to like,
that's part of the show.
Eject button.
That's part of the show.
Okay. There we go. Sorry. Thanks. So look, my view on, I'll just call it like being a genuine founder, right?
Yep.
Like you want to be able to have empathy and share emotion and parts of your experience with your team, when appropriate, right? But it should happen on a level that feels sincere and it should feel frequent, right? Like I can't tell you the exact. Not like every 3 days, go say something that makes you seem vulnerable. Like, I don't know. It's going to be different for every team, every founder.
How do you do that? Is it very similar like being a dad too? Like, is it like you have to show like vulnerability to your son the same way that you have to show vulnerability to your employees, but you at the same like have to make people feel safe, right? Like, is that the similar dynamic?
My honest answer on the fatherhood part is I don't know yet. He's 4.
Yeah.
We're hanging out one-on-one. I don't really think he understands when I'm being vulnerable or not. We just kind of have a lot of fun. But yes, I want to model vulnerability for him at some point. As far as work-wise, look, I don't think there's a exact silver bullet, but I do think some rules of thumb or guidelines or frameworks for me is I try to create environments that allow for openness. So I like doing, out of office activities with the team, right? And it isn't just like, let's hit the bars and like get everyone drunk, right? It's like, let's go do something fun, right? The other day, we took several team members to go play this paddle tennis, right? Or padel,
the pickleball, or
not pickleball, but the one in the glass box. That's like kind of like, and we took the team.
Is racquetball making a comeback?
Racquetball, no, not so much.
I feel like racquetball is such an 80s.
Move. No, it's the big lenses and the short shorts and the headbands. That's it
was an 80s finance vibe for sure. But
right now, padel or paddle is like making a very big push. I don't know if you've seen.
Cool. I haven't seen it.
There's this huge press. Have you ever heard of the brand Kith?
Yeah, I know Kith.
So Kith is doing a paddle club. It's called Kith Ivy. If you write Kith Ivy, it's like crazy press right now. So it'll be arguably like the most, fanciest.
So they've made fancy pickleball.
Paddle, but yes. But yeah, it is. It's literally the same idea of a golf club or a tennis club.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm a sucker. I joined, right? So I'm like, I'm all in on this sport. But what I was sharing with you,
I want to go try this now.
Yeah, I think you should.
Yeah.
But what I was sharing with you is like, we did this event and we brought our team members to just go and like play. It was like 2 hours. It was like with coaches and instruction. And it's like, it's just fun. Like everyone's playing a sport. It's relatively easy to pick up.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a very enjoyable experience, right? And it's like, all right, look, and you get people out there, and the conversations you're having when you're being silly and like you're not the perfect CEO.
Yeah,
you're making mistakes. You're like, like falling over and being as awkward as not as coordinated as you would think you want to be in front of your team. It creates some level of like authenticity, right? Of like, okay, I could be wrong or not look perfect. And it's like, hey, it's all good. We're just having fun. And then, and then it creates open channels of communication and the hangouts and the things that we do afterwards.
Yeah.
It builds, right? So I think one thing we really try to do is like create opportunities to have fun. Another one that's like similar in this same vein, but super easy to execute on. We did a sip and paint, right? Which is I've
done that
drinks,
before.
And then you paint something that this you have like a real artist in the front, and like the person shows you this is what we're going to paint today, and like gives you the steps. I'm terrible at painting. Like it is like actually embarrassing, right? Again, another fun environment where you can suck at something, and then you just have real conversations, right? Like I think if you feel like you have to be vulnerable, like you feel like you're executing vulnerability, you're probably not doing it right. Like,
totally.
The authenticity and vulnerability tied with empathy, I think, are like core components. And then my last framework that I would say is try to hire around you as soon as you can, because financially it's not easy. But we, after our Series A, we definitely started investing in seasoned founders, people that have been co-founders of other businesses, and seeing if you can attract them to join your run, right? And I think that was a big unlock. Like I hired a team member. He's my chief strategy officer. His name is Steve Milton. I don't know his exact age, but he's definitely he's got like at least, I feel bad. It's not that he looks old, but based on his experience, he's got at least 15 years on me.
Yeah, that's valuable for the business.
Yeah, but he co-founded a business called Place IQ, which is a very successful data intelligence business from start to exit, right?
Yeah.
So he's seen the whole run. I met him, I figured out who he was, and then called him. He was like sitting on his ranch in Colorado. He's just basically semi-retired. And he was like managing his 80 acres of forestry that he purchased. And I'm like, hey, what do you think about like having another run with me? And he's like, I'll come consult with you for 60 days. And we had this, it was interesting. It was like right about the same time, literally 1 year ago from this period of time. It was around when fall was starting. And he spends the 60 days, 60 days becomes 90. And then literally it was like 2 days before Thanksgiving. And we sit down. I'm like, all right, well, how do you feel? Like, like trying to see if what did he learn? Do we have something here? And surprisingly, he was like, Alex, I'm actually very interested in joining full time. And I'm like, really? I was like, I thought you got to go manage your 80 acres of forest, right? And he's like, yeah. He's like, look, you guys have something really special here. And it's two parts. It's one, you have this incredible data intelligence platform you've built. You don't really know how to take it to the next level. I do, because I've done it before with this other business. But secondly, and he said these exact words, he's like, and you also, with this team, you have lightning in a bottle. And he told me that. I was like, I will always remember the way he said it, because he, who has been a 5-time he says he's done 5 startups. and co-founded one all the way from start to successful exit. He's looking at what we have and having seen this patterns before and be like, yo, this is it. You have this moment. You have the team. You have the energy. You have all the pieces. The business is coming together. And for someone that's done 5 startups and successfully exited one that he co-founded, I was super energized. And then from there, we went and hired this other person who was a co-founder of another data company. He was a co-founder, so like 2x.
So you would advise like founders to go out and like engage with and recruit like senior people who have been there, done that, to like cut down on business risk and stuff like that, right?
Absolutely. I mean, but that's me. By the way, the version of me that was 5 years younger probably didn't have that same feeling because I like being the one that calls the shots, the smartest one in the room.
Yeah. I like being the stupidest person in the room. And then
for sure,
what we've done is we set up an advisor program.
Yeah.
And then we go out and we actually have like, we try to meet people who, like, let's say if we're building a recruiting business, like we want to go and find like someone who's been like building in recruitment for 10, 15, 20 years. And it's like, yeah, we understand AI, we understand tech.
Yeah.
Like we understand the venture side of this thing. We want to figure out like, where can we not just shred capital, like learning what you've learned. And I think that's, you're like one of the first people I've talked to that shares that similar worldview. Cause I feel like so many people, especially right now, are like, go get like, let's back the 22-year-olds like in this like hypey AI startup. And I think that there's some things that work that way. But I also think when you're building in different industries, like there's knowledge and value to how companies have been built, right?
I'm a senior citizen in the world of startups. I know this, right? I'm like,
me too, brother.
Just turned 40 not too long ago. Look, I'll tell you this, right? You said something which I really like and agree with, which is like try to find rooms where you're the dumbest one.
Yeah,
right? But it's actually hard.
Yes.
Especially when you're the CEO in that dumb room. When you go to like, okay, we go to a conference and I'm like around all these super successful people. I'm like, oh, wow. Like I'm like fanboying around like whatever, the so-and-so CEO. That's fine. But when it's your team, it's actually really hard. And I realized that recently. I'm not a technical founder.
Yeah.
But I now have surrounded myself with really strong technologists and leaders that have way more experience and knowledge than I have. So we'll have these like, a product roadmap meeting, for example, and we'll sit there and we'll be talking. And I'm like, fuck, like, I actually don't understand what they're saying right now.
Yeah.
I'm like, guys, listen, I needed to, I'm like, you got to slow down for me.
Yeah.
You guys, you three, you guys all know what you're talking about right now. I need you to like really dumb it down for me. Yeah. I'm a 5-year-old. Like, tell me what you're talking about. They find that refreshing and that they respect that I can be open and honest when I don't know what I don't know.
Yeah.
Because a lot of really talented people that I've been able to attract, I've realized they've had really bad relationships recently with past either co-founders or their hiring managers or just large corporations where they're like, this sucks. Like I'm doing work that I'm not excited about, or I'm like running so many cycles, or I'm managing the politics around it. Like, I don't want that.
I think what's good too, doing that as a CEO is there's other people, if you don't know in the room as a CEO, and there's other people that definitely don't know in the room.
Yeah.
I like hate acronyms. Like coming out of finance, dude, like I don't know if you feel the same way, but it's like I feel like our whole profession was just like acronym city.
Sure.
And like that's something.
It was a flex. It was a flex to be like, DCF, EBITDA.
Where's the ISDA form?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, for sure. It was like, oh yeah, I know something. It's like the internal tribal language.
Did you see the scene in The Big Short where the guys are trying to get an ISDA and they're going to like Deutsche and all these guys and they're like, I need an ISDA agreement. And the guy's like, yeah, man, like you mean an ISDA? Like, yeah, we'll give you that if you get like 30 million of capital. And it was just like that little subtle flex that like, you didn't even know what like the slang in the industry is. Like, it is an ISDA if you read it, but like everybody calls it an ISDA, right?
It's silly. It's so silly, but very true.
Yeah. So I hate that shit in my companies, but that's like how can I switch it up a little bit? Because we've been talking about founding, but like you worked for someone that was like prolific, right? Like Ackman.
Sure.
And I'd say like would you say that like Pershing Capital is like kind of an activist investor, or how would you describe like what Bill and the team is up to?
For sure, activist investing. I honestly have been pretty far removed from like recent stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, he's so public on Twitter. He's like, he's known for
Well, that aside, I'm very interested in like the history of him being like, I think the thing that's very interesting that you probably had a good eyesight into is like the activist investing in the early days, when you're working there years ago. Like, can you tell me a bit about that?
I think what he did really well was he took big bets and was very effective at communicating those bets. And I think for me, what I respect and appreciate about him is like when he had a view, he really stood for it, and he did the work to make sure that his view was very solid. It was like very well researched and support. Wow, you're crushing me, by the way.
Just because you're telling good stories.
I'm like not even close to where you are. It's so wild.
Do you see? Look at that. I got like the seat for the person.
What?
Yeah.
I don't think if I handed this to someone, they'd be like, I don't know what it is. No clue. Anyhow.
You got the stick shift.
I don't even know what that is. I thought it was a microphone when I first took
it looks like the stick shift.
Yeah,
right?
I think it probably is the stick shift. Yeah, we're still ways away. Look, it's interesting, right? Like activist investing, it's not so much about, it's still value investing at the core, where like you have to make really good judgments and decisions, but it's how you play on after that in terms of understanding how board proxies work, understanding how dynamics with CEOs work and the executives and the directors. It's really complex, but it's a way to really impact change and outcomes that can unlock tremendous value. But you're also not always right about everything, right? Yeah. I wouldn't even say he was one of the first ones to do it, right? Like, really what was happening in the 80s and 90s around, I mean, like, you know, the movie Wall Street in some ways, kind of, it was one of the first places to bring it into pop culture. But like, you know, the private equity, you know, barbarians at the gate, for example, the KKRs of the world, like all of that action, taking things private or changing structures, forcing boards to do something because they just get comfortable with what they're doing and they're not necessarily unlocking the most shareholder value, has been done, you know, very well for a very long time. I think what he did really well is he just has this charismatic and persuasive ability to storytell and explain his viewpoints that ultimately, when they pan out, because again, the markets are a confidence game, right? I think he did that really well, and I think watching him for the time that I did, I learned a ton. But he was also very hard. Definitely kicked my butt, but also pushed me to be the best version of myself. And I think it would be hard to take on a lot of the challenges I feel now today in the startup world had I not seen and learned from a lot of those challenges I saw with him.
How do you square the circle of like an activist investor and also being a founder, right? Like, I feel like founder Twitter is so much like, don't get a board, maintain board control, all the stuff. But then activist investor very much is like coming in and like shaking a company up that like maybe isn't running super well, or is that like same energy?
It's a very interesting question. So I'll tell you this. I think a board with the right people is incredibly valuable.
Same.
Because I think it holds you accountable. Like I did a Series A, I still control my board, but like I really care about what my board members think because they care about the business and I care about the business, and they're super smart and legitimately more accomplished and successful than I am.
The best people I know have epic boards, you know? Like,
true. Yeah.
You know,
and mentors and like, honestly, that's really, if you want to think about like an arb of like how you can be successful. I think finding the arbitrage of really great knowledge and advice early in life is one of the best things. I mean, people talk about like, oh, this kid was born on third base because, his father or so-and-so. Like, fine, the money is a factor, but like sometimes there's like the wisdom and the advice and the knowledge that comes with that relationship, or the mother or whoever it is, grandfather, uncle, doesn't matter. But like when you're early on, like how do you get access to that kind of knowledge? I mean, I don't know, like generally relatives are the only ones that are like willing to spend that time with like a 10-year-old telling you stuff that like you wouldn't even be able to know it was important for you until many years later.
What I heard was interesting. So like, do you know Constellation Software up in Canada?
I've definitely heard of it. I don't know the business model.
So, we don't have to go into like detail on the whole business model, but allegedly like they go find older chairman or older CEOs.
Okay.
And then they get in like their 70s, and then they give them a board seat over one of their sub companies.
Okay.
And what's really great is like that gets like that knowledge, that gets people really active.
Interesting.
It's also like, you could go get someone like
transfer.
really epic, but then also from the business community, if you're that person, like you're obviously like retired and, being on the board, like can help and do things. So it's like a give get in a lot of ways. And so what we've done, because like I'm trying to systematize that a little bit, because you're just like, if you came from wealth or you came from a certain family connection, like someone will go and spend time with you. But like how do you as an entrepreneur get someone like that to spend time with you? And I think for us, it's like finding a shot on goal. So it's like connecting with that person. But then it's also like, I think the really good founders I know go out and create boards of advisors.
Sure.
And it's not necessarily like a fiduciary board. It's like a board that'll actually help. And I think more than not, people will go on there and help you. And so like, I'd love to know, like, how do you find your mentors? How do you go and connect with these people? Do you inherently have them just from your journeys being an entrepreneur in New York City? Or like, do you go and seek them out?
It's a great question. So I think for me, what's happened is it's evolved. My larger view on relationships in life is that there's different relationships that are super impactful for different chapters or times of your life. And, I think parents can be amazing and obviously an incredible support system, but also that relationship evolves with time.
Mm-hmm.
You could have mentors, you can have guides, people that support you and help you be the best version of yourself at different points in time. And I think now what I'm realizing is I am meeting new people in my life that are incredibly valuable and helpful in different areas. And I'm just super grateful. And it's often not even a formalized relationship.
Yeah.
But they just kind of are cheering you on, and like someone did it for them.
Mm-hmm.
And they'll do it for you as long as you do it for the next person. Like truly like a pay it forward type mentality.
There is very much like an apprenticeship thing in entrepreneurism.
Yeah.
When you approach people authentically. Like I think there's so many people trying to like hustle investment or hustle sales. And, I think in these relationships, like you're obviously not asking these people for, hey, like invest in my company right away, or like make a connection that I can sell to, right?
Yeah. No, I totally agree. I think it's for me a very organic type thing. Like I met this one really awesome past CEO. He was multiple times CEO of different companies in data and kind of MarTech type opportunities. And now consults for a bunch of like private equity firms, VC funds. And as part of my Series A, he actually was the consultant a fund paid to evaluate me. And they passed. He said, you guys should invest. They passed. And he now is an official advisor because he's like, dude, they missed out. Like you're like this business is a real thing. And he's actually been super helpful, and he knows so many people. And honestly, for a long time before we formalized anything, we would just hang out and like we'd have some lunches, we'd catch up. And I think that was a big part of why I was able to build this relationship with him, in that for a long time it was just like two people that enjoyed each other's company and knowledge and experience, and just sharing it very openly. I think that built a stronger foundation such that now we're super excited for the partnership.
I mean, that's like New York for the win though, right? Like,
Yeah.
like that's why I built here. I know, like, so would love to get to the part where I rapid fire some questions at you.
Okay.
So if, like basically answer what you want, try to be succinct and I'll see if I can bust through these.
Okay.
What was your biggest, mistake in founding?
My biggest mistake in founding was not checking my ego, or at least calibrating my ego first. I think for the first, let's call it 4 to 5 years that I was building, I made a lot of decisions to satisfy like my own personal validation and my ego. And that took precedent over necessarily the best decision for what I was trying to do. And it impacted my strategy, my decision making, all these things.
Did therapy help fix that, or like time or,
therapy,
or what? All the above?
some medicinal trips to Peru, like a bunch of different things were able to get me to understand that. For sure, I wish I had understood that first before I started my first few ventures, because
same.
It was hard. It was very, very challenging.
That's awesome. Your son's 4 years old, right?
Yes.
How do you make space and prioritize for him as a CEO and founder?
Oh.
And do you have any fathering tips? I'm about to have a daughter in December, so
congrats.
Thank you. So part of I'm always.
Are you scared shitless?
Definitely. Yeah. But it's like, how do you prioritize? And I'm so excited for her to be here.
I said earlier, like my childhood was pretty chaotic. So like, I honestly was not excited about having a kid initially. I was like, oh no, like, and I knew something was wrong with that.
Yeah.
I was like, this doesn't make sense to me. Okay. And I was like, I'm very nervous. I don't feel like I had the safest or most, whatever. Everyone's childhood is hard and messed up in different ways. And I love my parents, and they're incredible parents. They're still together. They like really have made it work. And then our family is now like the best it's been in a long time.
Yeah.
But I will say I was very scared and almost avoidant of fatherhood. The kid was coming. I'm like, okay, I'm going to work hard. I started like going out more, staying out later with friends. Like I'm in my late 30s. It's not like I shouldn't be like out every night on weekdays. I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. Got to get one more drink with so-and-so. We got to catch up. And I realized what was happening for me was I was just avoiding. I just didn't understand what was going on. And there's actually a very interesting analogy, and I don't know how appropriate it is, but there is something that happens because of evolution and your biochemistry and just like the way your brain works, of how you eventually, when that baby comes and starts to grow and you spend time and like all the chemicals in your brain do this thing, and you just fall madly in love with your child, right? And the analogy I have is when I was talking, when I was 8, okay, let's say I'm 8 years old, and like the neighborhood teenager that's like 16 is like making out with this girl, like in the car outside, whatever the house. And then like, he'll walk up to me and be like, don't worry, buddy. One day you're going to be into that. And I'd be like, no way. That's disgusting. Like, no, gross. Right. Like, imagine I planned my entire life around how I felt when I was 8.
Yeah.
Well then imagine you plan your entire life around how you felt before you had a child.
Yeah.
Right. And maybe you don't feel it, but like all the data in the world shows you that parents love their children, grandparents love their grandchildren. Like there is something that happens genetically with evolution that I trust because I am of the same type of DNA, that flesh, that blood that everyone else has. It should most likely happen to me too.
Are you a better CEO? Because
I'm a much more empathetic, and better's tough because I haven't fine.
A lot of studies, like I think there was like an HBS study that was like CEOs that have kids, like the companies perform better, they perform better.
I think I'm more efficient.
Yeah.
I think I'm also able to relate to, I'll tell you where really I've seen it, okay? I now have more connection to a lot of the parents that work with me, versus before I'm like this young CEO that's like, running around town, ex-finance, has made some money already, like living a life that's like, whatever. And they're like, oh, he doesn't understand my issues. Like they have to leave early because like after school care is not working today, or as a parent teacher goes. Like before I'd be like, okay, do whatever you need, right? Now there's like real empathy of like, oh, cool. And I ask questions that are clear, that I have a connection to what they're going through, right? And I think that creates trust, and that relationship where you're like, they get you and they believe in you, that you also share in the understanding of what they're going through. They end up wanting to follow your leadership. You get more, I think you get more connected followership. So yeah.
That's killer.
All you listeners out there, have some babies. You'll grow your followership.
There we go. Do you have any pieces of advice, last piece of advice for someone that wants to start a business, or a founder out there, or New York founders?
Sure. I would say really ask yourself why you, right? Like you have to have a really clear answer of why you. And there's a lot of great ideas out there.
What about just escaping finance? Like you and me.
Escaping finance is amazing, but we could go be, like musician. We could be DJs, right? Like that could have worked out.
David
for us.
Solomon's killing it.
Yeah, that timeline for us, we would have caught the DJ trend quite well. And like ex-finance people being DJs, there's a thing now. Look, my honest answer is really be able to stand behind why you with such conviction, because there's a lot of great ideas. There's a lot of successful backgrounds, but why you specifically to execute and lead this opportunity?
I love that, because like one of my early startups, it's like it works so well on paper. Yeah. Like one of the early companies I wanted to do was crowdfunding for commercial real estate. I'm like, this works great on paper, and I could like make the Excel sheet work. Yeah. I ended up not doing that business, but it's like, man, you got to really like love the thing, because someday it's going to suck. It's going to trade off against what you do in life.
For sure.
And like, I also say like the best VCs in the world are going to go find the best people they can and put the most capital against you. The only leverage you really have is how much you love that business.
I totally agree.
And like it all comes down to like that little bit of leverage. And that's how you win. Well, thank you for coming on. Like, do you have any other like things you want to like say or plug? I appreciated having you here.
I'm very grateful for the time as well. Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
Look, I would say we're very proud of our business, Proxima. We are trying to build the future of AI execution around marketing. And what that means is I want to go out to all the best consumer businesses in the world and literally be the marketing operating system that powers all of their performance, all of their execution. And we think about all of it tied to precision, right? Because that's really what AI gives you, right? Precision at scale. That is the big thing that I would say from a work standpoint. I just want to highlight for us, we're very proud of, being on this journey towards that vision. As far as on a personal side, look, the listeners here are founders or aspiring founders or people that want to consider being part of founding teams. It's a really tough journey. I know it sounds sexy and there's all these elements of like, the payouts, the money, the glory, all these things, but it is very hard. And I'm not at all saying don't do it. I'm just saying be prepared to do the work and also get the necessary equipment around you to be successful. So if you're going up Everest and you're like, I'm going to do it because I am so determined I'm going to make it happen. Yeah, but like you still need proper training. You need to like be able to do all the things with the equipment and acclimate and do all the work to get there. And there's similar work that people can start doing today, like what we discussed around emotional wellness, mental wellness, physical wellness. Like do those things, because this is a long journey. It's a version of Everest, but for a very long time, where you don't get to take many like timeouts while you come off the mountain. Like, sorry, buddy, you are stuck on the mountain. right?
Yeah.
So I think the more you can approach it as a long journey, that there are actually things that you can do if you're already on the journey, or you're just about to start the journey, or you're well on your way, that can optimize and improve your chances of success and making it all the way through. Because for me, that ultimately I think is the most satisfying part. If this all works out, I want to see that the efforts and the execution really change the lives of the people around me that really helped make this happen, right? And that's my team members, that's my family members, that's my board members, investors, because I know if they all are super happy with the outcome, I'm going to be just fine, right? So that's kind of my North Star as I think about purpose in this whole journey.
Killer. I love that. And people can always go compete with you in Sag Harbor's triathlon, right?
There we go.
Thanks for coming on.
Sign me up. I'm ready to go.